At this moment, missiles are striking a nuclear facility in Iran. Israel has carried out attacks. Iran is threatening to respond, and the US is on high alert. Everyone is afraid of one thing. If that reactor is hit, what happens next? Does the damage stop at one city or spread across an entire region? But here's the real question no one is answering. How can something as small as a uranium atom have the power to erase a city in seconds? Today, this isn't about politics. This is about the science behind the fear and how the same atom at the center of all this tension can either power the world or destroy it. Let's start with what's inside a nuclear reactor. At its core, there's a special type of uranium called uranium-235. Its nucleus isn't stable. Think of it like a tower stacked the wrong way. One small push and it collapses. If a single neutron, one of the smallest particles in an atom, hits that nucleus, something incredible happens. The nucleus splits into two smaller parts, releasing a huge amount of energy, and more importantly, it releases 2 or 3 new neutrons. Those new neutrons go on to hit other uranium atoms, splitting them, releasing more energy and even more neutrons. Like a game of billiards, one ball hits another, then another, then another. This is called a chain reaction. In a fraction of a second, trillions of these splits can occur. Each one releases a tiny amount of energy, but together they can equal the power of millions of tons of dynamite. So the real question is, how do we control something this powerful? If a chain reaction is left uncontrolled, it becomes an explosion, just like a nuclear bomb. But inside a reactor, we don't want an explosion. We want the energy to be released slowly, like a controlled flame. So how do we do that? With control rods. These are rods made of materials that absorb neutrons. When they are inserted between the fuel rods, the ones that contain uranium, they absorb the extra neutrons and the reaction slows down. Pull them out slightly, more neutrons are free, and the reaction speeds up. So you're essentially controlling the reaction like a gas pedal in a car. The heat produced is used to boil water. The water turns into steam, the steam spins turbines, and the turbines generate electricity. It's the same idea as a coal power plant, but instead of burning fuel to heat the water, you're using a nuclear reaction at the core of the reactor. So, how does the same atom go from a controlled flame to a bomb that can destroy a city? The difference is simple: speed and concentration. In a nuclear bomb, we don't want a slow, controlled reaction. We want it to happen faster than a blink, with all the energy released at once. That's why uranium is enriched to over 90%, while a normal reactor uses only 3 to 5%. Then, a large amount of that uranium is packed tightly together and surrounded by conventional explosives. At the exact moment those explosives are triggered, they compress the uranium into an extremely small space. Suddenly, all the atoms are forced close together, neutrons flood the system, and the chain reaction begins instantly and uncontrollably. In a fraction of a second, all the energy that would have been released over months is released at once. The result? An explosion equivalent to tens of thousands of tons of dynamite. The difference between a nuclear reactor and a nuclear bomb is the difference between a candle and a volcanic eruption. For years, Iran has stated that its uranium enrichment program is for peaceful purposes, to fuel nuclear reactors and generate electricity. In civilian reactors, uranium is typically enriched to about 3 to 5%, but concerns from countries like the United States and Israel are that enrichment levels have reached around 60%, and that matters, because from there, it's a much shorter step to the 90% level required for weapons-grade material. That's why facilities like Natanz have become the center of global attention. Recent strikes are believed to target the centrifuges used to enrich uranium, either to disable them or slow down the program before it reaches a critical stage.
But the biggest fear is not just escalation. It's what could happen if an active nuclear facility is severely damaged. In that case, the danger isn't an explosion like a bomb, it's radiation. A large release of radioactive material could contaminate entire regions for decades. Events like Chernobyl and Fukushima have already shown us what that can look like. Long-term environmental damage and serious health risks that can last for generations. In the end, The atom isn't evil. The atom is energy. It can light our homes, power our industries, and run the world around us. The difference between good and harm isn't in the atom itself. It's in how we control it. What we're seeing today around places like Natanz is at its core a struggle over who controls that power. But the deeper truth is this: science isn't the danger. Misuse is. In the next episode, we'll look at Chernobyl and Fukushima and how a system designed to be safe can turn into a disaster that haunts generations. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I'll see you in the next one.